Welcome to our HistoReddit channel. Today we bring you all a truly special episode. A few weeks ago, I received an intriguing audio sent by a follower. In this audio, someone showed some boldness when interacting with a telemarketer. I decided to share this story in a video. Since then, the fan response has been incredible, and today I bring you another report that is definitely worth hearing. You'll find the full audio at the end of this video, understanding that not everyone will taste the same. In the meantime, here's a little preview of what's to come in our next Reddit post. Approaching a change of scenery, I find myself in the UK, where the legal drinking age is 18. Despite the existing nuances, which I understand well, they do not apply in this case. I work at a lively pub that offers drinks and food to go. During the summer, the option to enjoy a drink outside becomes especially popular. The story I share today took place when I was about 20 years old. A mother and her son entered the busy bar. I watched them as they entered. The boy looked to be about 15 years old. The mother ordered drinks, with the child outside. She ordered a pint of scrumpy, a traditional strong cider, and a Coke. Interestingly, she interacted with the bar signage, not saying a word to me, but rather listlessly touching it with her manicured finger. He didn't even seem to notice my presence. In a courteous manner, I repeated the order to confirm. Serve drinks as requested. However, the mother simply ignored my outstretched hand and placed the payment, consisting of bills and coins, on the counter, almost within reach of a stranger. I gently asked her to place the coins in my hand. Again, I was ignored. She suggested he keep the change and left. As she left, the strange Leah left a confused trail of coins across the counter. She collected and counted the coins, completed the transaction, added an extra 5 cents to the tip, and served the next customer minutes later. I could see her sizing me up superficially as she held the pint of scrumpy. We established eye contact and exchanged a nod. I then turned my attention to the customer I was serving. By the time I was finished, I noticed that Leah was already on the other side of the bar, handing over a pint of scrumpy that she'd grabbed herself. She asked to revive the drink as she found it bland. Sorry for the confusion, but traditional scrumpy is just like that. The mother condescendingly interrupted, stating that she knew how it should be. She then asked him to pour the cider into a new glass and turn it into something more lively. I suggested trying a different cider, mentioning the cask hard cider option, which might surprise her. The mother, however, expressed her desire for another try or questioned whether she should ask my colleague to attend to her. She pointed at him, indicating her preference. I apologize for the confusion. My son has barely tried this drink and hasn't even had it yet. I was shocked by the revelation. Did you give this to your child? The mother, hesitating a little, answered confidently. Yes, he is over 18 years old. I was surprised, since, at first glance, he didn't look more than 15 years old. At this point, I realized the woman's ruse. The next thing she did was point to the liter still in my hands and aggressively demand that I return it. She expressed a rush, claiming she didn't have time for that. I am deeply sorry, but I cannot fulfill this request. I already made the payment and received the amount along with her 5 cents tip. I hold the money out to her, even though I'm sure she'll refuse. I want the drink I paid for. Unless you are accompanied by your child and can produce valid photo ID as required by law, I cannot proceed." The woman, excited and with droplets of saliva in the air, claims that he is a good son and does not need identification. She insists that she is his mother, but the law is clear. I apologize, but it's a legal question. Please take your money. I don't want to argue. Everything is fine. I pull a cider from the back of the counter, out of her reach. I take a deep breath and close my eyes for a moment. 3, 2. She threatens to speak to the manager, but before she can say a word, my colleague, clearly eager to intervene, steps over. "Sorry, I'm here," I say before she reaches my colleague. "I have to complain about your employee. She has no customer service skills and clearly doesn't know how to serve a simple beer." My colleague struggles to keep a straight face. "I'm sorry to hear that. I will ensure that action is taken immediately. And now, you will serve a proper beer." It doesn't make sense. Your beers are only 8% alcohol, does it? "Oh, sorry, not the best conversation starter. Just looking." The entitled mother stutters, enraged, and leaves mumbling about leaving a bad review online. I turn to my colleague and call him by name, scolding him. "Lee, you shouldn't have said that." He apologizes, unable to contain himself. "You shouldn't, I said your beers are bad. You ruin all the good times by being rude to someone in the front desk and suggesting they reorder and put some spit on. Isn't that just a thinly veiled way of saying redo my order and put some spit in?" Our next Reddit post involves passionate Satanists. For years ago, I met Nick in a cafe, and 2 years later we started dating. He proposed to me on Valentine's Day. His mother does not accept me very well, mainly because I am not religious and have my own beliefs. Even though Nick left the religion before he met me, she blames me for negatively influencing his life. We planned a Gothic cemetery wedding for Halloween. It will be an event that symbolizes our dreams. We love Halloween and old cemeteries. We assure you that we will respect the tombs and site boundaries. Our wedding planner did an exceptional job, including finding a new venue after the previous one was canceled. We sent invitations to everyone, including your mother. Here's the message I got from her: "Why don't you get married in a church?" That's my wish for him. I replied, "We are not religious, and the idea for the cemetery wedding was his. I apologize if you feel that way. These are our plans. Please put aside our differences for your son's sake and come to the wedding." However, everything seems to have gone wrong. The wedding planner called, suggesting that we change the artificial flowers to real ones, changing the whole theme. My mother-in-law intervened directly, contacting the organizer to ask if we could have a traditional church wedding. Fortunately, I resolved the situation by creating a password to avoid further problems with the mother-in-law. She insisted on introducing herself as the mother of the groom and saying that the day was hers. I had to ask her to stop interfering with her own son's marriage. We worked hard to make this day special, and if she couldn't stop, she wouldn't be invited. Nick was really stressed out about her, and it wasn't fair. It was my day, not hers. She called me a devil girl and said I was ruining his life. She even claimed that he shouldn't even have asked me to marry him. Afterwards, Opie shared the second part of the story. Finally, my wedding took place, and she attended. However, it didn't just come, she was also opposed to the ceremony. Going back to the day in question, it was magnificent. I wore a beautiful black wedding dress, and when he saw it, Nick cried and kissed me. He was with his groomsmen at the altar, waiting for the music. The wedding march resounded and the lights created a magical atmosphere. As I walked down the hall, my attention was focused on Nick. At the crucial moment, during the vows, I noticed my mother-in-law in the crowd. She wore a white dress. I stayed calm, looking away from her and focusing on Nick. During the vows, I remember mentioning some references from the movie Corpse Bride. When it got to the part where the celebrant asked if anyone had any objections, my mother-in-law came running over and grabbed Nick. She began to pray that he would leave me and come home. I was astonished at his attitude. She tried to drag him along, saying I wasn't loved by him, that I was just a passing phase. She suggested that he go back to the church to find someone better. However, Nick intervened with love and determination. He told his mother that he loved her dearly and that she was wrong about me. He described how much I supported him and helped him out of the darkness of depression. He mentioned that I brought light into his life when he needed it most. It expressed how much I meant to him and that without me he might not be here anymore. Nick defended our relationship and made it clear that my presence was crucial to his happiness. My mother-in-law, however, insisted that depression was something that was only on his mind. She continued calling my pregnancy a demon child and claimed that God would save him. With tears in his eyes, Nick begged her to understand that I was right for him. He confronted her with the reality that she was missing out on meeting her first grandchild and was doing so by her own choice. He stated that she was not welcome in our lives until she could accept our union. She walked out of the ceremony, and the wedding continued as planned. The reception was spectacular, with a beautiful venue and amazing food. The photographer captured wonderful moments, and I married my best friend and soulmate. Even if it was a brief and not very exciting account, it is important to point out that she will not be present in our lives for a long time. I hope that, in time, she will be able to accept us, or at least live her life without jeopardizing the relationship we have. The next thread on Reddit is about my experience as a waitress who is 7 months pregnant. Although I don't drink during pregnancy, I continue to work as usual. One day, a woman named Karen arrived at the establishment accompanied by her husband and children. They sat down for lunch. Although our location is not a full restaurant, we do offer a small menu of sandwiches and wings. Karen expressed her surprise, "But wait, you work here?" I confirmed, and then she commented on my pregnancy, "You can't work here when you're pregnant." I responded with a smile, trying to keep the mood light, saying that I actually work here and I don't drink on the job either. Karen studied me and asked, "Did you take any prenatal courses?" She looked worried that she might harm the unborn baby. At that point, I made a mistake, as defensiveness washed over me when she implied that I wasn't a responsible parent. My answer, however, did not help. I said, "Well, you brought your kids here, didn't you?" She confirmed, which led me to mention the kind of example she was setting for them. My words, however, weren't tactful enough, and the situation got worse when she snarled and dismissed me. I think a goodbye kiss on the tip is appropriate, in hopes of ending this discussion. I see them signaling the bartender after a few minutes, which leads me to believe they are ready to order. So I decide to head there. Karen expresses a desire to speak with the manager, despite the fact that they still haven't ordered their drinks. To better understand the situation, I ask if I can help them in any way. Karen's husband, Mr. Karen, reiterates that they just need the manager, assuring that this is too small a place for such a presence. He claims it's just waiters, bartenders, and the two owners present. The one working is busy on a phone call and would be upset if he was interrupted. I understand that you may be uncomfortable due to my pregnancy. I try to suggest that maybe the other waitress, Ella, can help them. However, Karen gets up and decides to physically fetch the manager. I quickly step in to defuse the situation and lead her back to the table. The owner approaches with a warm smile and asks how he can help them. Karen brings up the issue of the waitress' pregnancy. The owner claims to be aware of this and asks if they prefer to have her replaced by another waitress. He further alleges that none of his employees consume alcohol during working hours, especially pregnant women. He suggests that Ella attend to them if they prefer. Karen seems determined to voice her concerns, speaking slowly and adopting a condescending tone. She mentions the presence of a pregnant woman around so much alcohol and implies that it is harmful. I'm taken aback by her approach, and the owner exchanges a look with me, indicating we're at an impasse. Given this, I suggest again the option of having Ella as a waitress. Karen, however, persists with her conviction. The owner realizes that we are unlikely to come to terms with her. Faced with the impasse, Karen threatens that she will not leave until the waitress is fired. I state that we cannot help them in this regard, and she threatens to call the police, accusing me of being an accomplice to child abuse. The owner intercedes, assuring that there is no noteworthy abuse going on. Karen, now with tears in her eyes, begins to justify her position based on religious beliefs, arguing that life begins at conception. The clash continues as tempers flare. Realizing that we will not be able to reach an understanding with her, I suggest that perhaps it is better for her to accept Ella's assistance, or that there is not much more we can do. Karen doesn't relent and continues to deliver an emotional speech. The situation escalates, and she looks around, hoping the others will support her. She tries to remain calm, reiterating that the best option is for her to leave. The owner, determined to resolve the conflict, announces that he will call the police. In the face of this, Karen begins to give an emotional speech, but the situation changes when the people present, who were watching a game, begin to express their dissatisfaction with her behavior, shouting in response. Entering in an imposing manner, Officers 1 and 2 from our city police department arrived. There was a gentleman named Karen somewhere here, the cops said. They claimed they were witnessing a possible case of child abuse. Anxiously, the officers point me out, but I pretend not to notice, worried they'll throw them out of the bar before I've had a chance to watch the fireworks. The second policeman approaches me, interested in understanding what was happening. I try to explain that the woman was lying about me drinking, but the cops look at each other and then back at the Karen family. They claim that it is not illegal, although it is not recommended. I understand that there are no legal actions to be taken. Meanwhile, Karen continues to cry, and I assume that her emotion is a representation of supposed Christian morality. Officer 2 walks over, congratulates me on my pregnancy, and strikes up a friendly conversation. It provides public funding for parenting classes and support for new mothers. I await the right moment to intervene and explain my innocence. Luckily, some regular customers, who know me well, realize I'm being wrongly accused. They defend my position to the police and report that the owner had already asked Karen's group to leave. The police then decide to approach the owner, who confirms that she had previously considered calling the police. However, she expected the Karen group to leave on their own, due to the inconvenience caused to the other customers. The officers finally go to the Karen group and ask them to leave the place, explaining that it is a public establishment and that the owners have asked them to leave. Mr. Karen angrily claims this is an affront to scripture and child safety. The officer tries to calm things down and invites the group to continue the conversation outside. He places his hand on Mr. Karen, conveying a firm message. The argument drags on as Mr. Karen backs away, bumping into objects along the way as he continues to taunt us. A threat to report the liquor license is issued, and Mr. Karen claims to know the mayor and the officers personally. The situation becomes tense and he demands the identification numbers of the officers. They try to calm the atmosphere, but the tension continues to build. Finally, the police decide to evict the Karen group from the establishment. Regulars comment that one of them proceeded to Karen's house, finding her car illegally parked in a handicapped spot, for which they were fined. The incident comes to an end with those involved leaving the scene, leaving behind a trail of tension and strong emotions. They filed a complaint with the liquor authority, alleging various things, including that we were serving minors. We were subjected to an investigation, but luckily everything was resolved. My boss asked me not to share the story with anyone until everything was resolved, but now that it is, I'm relieved to finally be able to share it. I still have fun with that situation, and honestly, it's such a relief after all this time. Considering how sensitive I am to alcohol, apparently all it takes is the smell to get me drunk. Think of all the money I'll save. Our next post on Reddit is about Vote Dog. I suffer from migraines, and they tend to come on at the worst times. One Halloween a few years ago, I had a terrible meltdown and had to give up the idea of answering the door for trick-or-treat kids. The noise of doorbells and lights was unbearable for me. I turned off the lights on the porch and the rest of the house, went to bed as soon as night fell, hoping to escape the pain. The doorbell rang incessantly, even with all the lights off. My dog started barking furiously, adding to the pain even more. I tried to ignore the noise as much as possible, but when someone started ringing the doorbell repeatedly, I finally got up and opened the door, ready to scold the person. I expected to find a child, but it turned out to be a woman, a Karen, with two adorably dressed children holding bags of candy. I explained that the porch light off was a sign that we weren't participating in trick or treat. The mother acted as if I had revealed a deep secret. She questioned me, and then the kids yelled trick or treat and threw their bags in my direction. I had a moment of panic because I forgot there was a huge amount of sweets in the kitchen. But before I could explain, Mom accused me of not sharing candy on Halloween. The answer came out reflexively. I told the children that I had no sweets. I explained that I turned off the light on purpose so I wouldn't be disturbed, because I wasn't feeling well. The mother argued that I should have sweets at home and suggested that I give them to the children. My head was throbbing, and the situation was surreal. The children, sensing my frustration, began to walk away, expecting their mother to follow them into a candy house. She called them back and reluctantly they did. I decided to play around with the situation by offering things like ketchup, pasta, or non-sweet foods. The mother kept insisting until I finally sent her away in exasperation. She threatened to tell the other parents about me, and I just laughed. I promised I would do the same, which would be helpful, and then I closed the door in her face. I really feel sorry for her children. It's sad to have a mother as intrusive as hers. Opie, the only way to deal with this was a simple idea: turn on the sprinklers. Our bar was full of parents, and now let's get into this crazy story. Now a little context on this. The person who sent me this audio is related to the angry woman and has given full permission to use the audio. It seems that the woman is not very concerned about privacy as she shared the video on the internet. Basically, the context is that this woman on the other end of the line is a gossip in the community. She's been spreading rumors about Opie's family, claiming they're financially broke and can't afford things. She even passed their address on to strangers, which obviously pissed Opie off. And the audio is precisely the conversation that followed. "Hi, Joy. Yeah, there was a guy from the neighborhood. A guy showed up at my door and said that you told him about my financial problems, that my boat was for sale and would be towed tomorrow. What did you say? How would you know? Why would you go around spreading something about which you don't even know if it's true or not? Why would you do that? Why would you divulge my personal affairs? If you even have any information from the HOA, I swear to God I'm going after it because you shouldn't have any idea what's going on with me. No details. It's none of your business, Joy. And so you decided to spread these rumors. If you only knew if it was true or not. What kind of person are you? You know what I mean? How would you feel if someone told you something terrible about you and I was just up to people and say, "Hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but did you know that Joy was once a man?" Who would do that? Do you know how much this embarrasses me? This is personal, none of your business. Here's what I'm going to tell you, Joy. Don't go talking to that guy. But you gave him my address. You told him who I am and where I live. He didn't even know who owned the boat. You told him he who owns the boat. Just some random guy showed up at my house. I live alone and you sent him here, whether it was directly or indirectly. If he didn't know the owner of the boat, he would never have shown up on my doorstep. It's not right, Joy. It's none of your business. Here's what I'm going to tell you, Joy. Just hold on a second. I'm going to give you a little information. Just so you know, the HOA wasn't created to be some sort of neighborhood policeman. That's not its job. It's more about dealing with extreme situations and litigation. You're not the HOA and you shouldn't act like one. You're not the neighborhood police. So maybe you're a little confused. You guys riding around in golf carts doling out punishments for minor infractions is none of your business. My business has nothing to do with you, and it's clear that you should never be on the HOA for that reason. It's none of your business to spread anything related to me. This is absolutely disrespectful, it's reckless, and you guys have really embarrassed me. But I suppose that doesn't matter to you. What did you say to him? That they both abandoned me because I'm having financial problems and the boat can't be taken to the dock because I'm in Florida? $50? Is that what you said? Here's what I want you to tell me. Where did you hear that from? Who did you get this information from? I want to know who shared this with you. I want to know who the sources of this were. Why won't you tell me? My suspicion is that it was probably Steve from the board, you know. How the hell did you not notice this? I think I have every right to express my frustration to you. You just admitted that you repeated something without being sure if it was true or not. And, more importantly, you admit that you had no right to repeat it in the first place. That was extremely insensitive of you. You had no right to meddle in my life like that. After all, you are human and should have some respect for the privacy of others. I went through probably the worst 2 years of my life. Not that you care, but I went through a divorce and had all kinds of problems. Did you care about that? Did you knock on my door and offer me help? No, you prefer to be nosy rather than real neighbors. Instead of hanging around in their golf carts looking for infractions, how about knocking on doors to ask if anyone needs help? That would be much more helpful. You need to look in the mirror and reflect on your attitudes. Well, I hope and pray there aren't more people like you doing what you're doing to me. You need to leave that man alone. Listen, well, I'm telling you right now, don't talk to that man. He has nothing to do with it. He was nice, he was kind. The only person who felt humiliated was me. And I hope that now you understand that it's not his problem. Actually, it's your problem and mine. He has nothing to do with it. Leave him out of this. The truth is, you made a mistake. Now, the most acceptable thing is to move on and not involve this man in this anymore. Thank you for understanding. Have a good night. The crazy thing is that this woman doesn't seem to realize what she's done wrong. She thinks it's okay to go around spreading terrible rumors, and then she doesn't understand why the man came to her house. Ma'am, it doesn't matter if you knew or not. The fact is, you were spreading harmful rumors about someone else. Just learn to be silent. What is wrong with you? In today's episode of HistoReddit, we delve into heartwarming stories of nosy neighbors and awkward situations. From widespread rumors to unexpected phone calls, we explore how a lack of respect for privacy can have negative impacts. Through these narratives, we understand the importance of being understanding and caring neighbors, rather than intrusive ones. If you like these stories and want to keep following HistoReddit's fascinating narratives, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. Share your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for more captivating content. Until the next episode.